For me, having Conte back in the Premier League is fantastic.
Well, he's a better manager than Arteta, so, yeah. So I think he'll do better than Arsenal this season.
Of all the teams that you wouldn't want to face of that group, I think West Ham are arguably the number one.
Everyone beats Tottenham under Nuno, scoring 3 goals, easy wins. Yeah.
There needs to be big changes, big clear-outs at this football club, and that's including the playing staff as well. We are just treading water now until January.
They need to make sure that they get this appointment right on multiple levels, because if you appoint someone that's got no experience of fighting for their lives at a team, it could hugely backfire.
Dean Smith's done a great job with Villa to get them at this stage. But, that's how football is. It's a business at the end of the day, and they're not getting good return on their investment fees. You guys been mentioning Conor Gallowgate. You're definitely not touching him. Who else is there? You guys
not even your player. No one is safe. No one is safe in this new Newcastle takeover. Welcome back to another episode of Fan Zone, the Premier League talk show by fans for fans. In today's episode, we're joined by Crystal Palace's most deluded fan, D. Only kidding, mate. How you doing, fella? Are you well?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good indeed. Just referencing, just to give kind of the listeners a little scoop behind the curtain. Feelings about top four being mentioned for Crystal Palace.
That is so out of context. That is so out of context. If we beat you guys, which we should have done, we're the better team on the day and beat Brighton, then I'm just saying we would have been 4 points over the top 4.
Oh, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a very Merry Christmas, mate, is what I would say. So there you go. We're also joined for the first time by Kris, Newcastle fan from Gallowgate Shots. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
I'm not bad. Thanks for having us on. First time, so we'll see if I get invited back.
Well, it's your first time, so I was nice. That's kind of how it works. But we'll get into some of the juicy Newcastle content in a second. I'm Tom from the Gooner Talk, and we're very, very happy to be joining you this next show. We've got lots of Premier League content to talk about. We're going to kick off with kind of the biggest news of the week regarding Antonio Conte taking over at Tottenham Hotspur. Kris, as someone who's also involved and embroiled in your own takeover of managers at the moment, how are you feeling around Conte being at Spurs?
Conte at Spurs, do you know what it is? When our takeover first got announced, that was the name that was linked to Newcastle United. I think most fans, especially Newcastle fans, looked at it and thought, he's not coming to Tyneside. Of course not. The calibre of that manager, there's no way you're going to see him at St James's Park unless he's managing a different team. But for me, having Conte back in the Premier League is fantastic. It really is. He's that type of manager where anything can happen, especially in his press conferences as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And I think Spurs needed it. They did need a change. I never thought Nuno was going to be the man to take them forward. So they needed it. And I think Conte, despite him just moving across London from Chelsea to Spurs, he'll do a good job there, and he will. Like, Spurs will climb up the league now.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be like a successful kind of appointment or not for Spurs? Because it's really easy to go from an Arsenal fan, it's Spurs, but from a more neutral-ish perspective, I mean, do you think it's going to be a success in the Premier League?
Well, he's a better manager than Arteta, so yeah. So I think he'll do better than Arsenal this season in terms of managerial. But look, jokes aside,
I can't disagree with you.
It all depends. It all depends on how much they back him. I think Tottenham have got a decent squad. They've got some quality players there, and you can't do any worse than Nuno, can you? But they've got some games to come. They're still got some games before the January transfer window, so they should be picking up points there. But overall, when we're talking about success at Tottenham, it all goes down to trophies. Can he win trophies at Tottenham? And I think he can do. I don't know if he class as a major one, but they can go on a run for FA Cup. They can have that trophy. I think Conte is a winner, and he's gonna. There's also reports coming out that Harry Kane now wants to stay at Tottenham, so it shows the level of respect that he's got in and around the league. He's one of the elite managers out there. He's probably the best option that they could get at this current moment of time. So I think Conte at Tottenham, he will be doing better than Nuno, and I think they've got now a real manager that can actually win them trophies if they back him and bring in the players that he wants.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Conte. From my perspective, yes, it is possible that he turns around, puts them back into a top 4 fight. But I just can't get over that they're lacking in quality in so many areas in that squad, and it's a big change, kind of from where they've gone under Nuno, playing in the system they have, moving to that very specific 3-5-2. Do they have the personnel for that? I suppose we'll have to wait and see. D, when you had a little bit of a dig at Nuno, I thought our Wolves supporting producer was going to jump in there to defend him, but he was staying silent. So, Kris, we'll throw to you to give us the next question.
Yeah, so we're looking obviously Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, top 3. Who's going to get that 4th spot?
It's going to be
I'll
hard,
let you
ain't
take
it?
this, D. I mean, you're out of this, D, so you can take it.
Yeah.
And
it's going to be hard. Well. Look, United, I've talked about United loads of times on this show, and I've mentioned that with Ole, they ain't going to be title challengers, but they can still finish 4th. They're a bit of a yo-yo club. You're looking at Tottenham now. They got Conte. You're looking at Arsenal. They're on form, and you got West Ham as well. So out of them sides, it is very hard. I think it's going to be extremely tight. It's very hard to decide. Like, I can't, my mind is like, well, it can be United because they do get lucky with Ronaldo and they've got that factor. So they might be picking up enough points to finish 4th. Part of me says, well, Conte at Tottenham, he can do it as well. I'm going to go for Tottenham. Let's change it up a bit. I think with Conte, he's going to have an impact on the squad, a positive impact. I know Tom says that they are still lacking in certain areas, but I feel like Conte will still try and get the best out of the players that they've got. And if they get the best out of the likes of Harry Kane and Lucas and likes of Son, they've still got some quality players there, and they can score loads of goals. And hopefully, maybe he might make them a bit better defensively. So I think Tottenham might edge it. But it's still tight. West Ham could nick it as well. Just depends on who turns up and if there's any major injuries for any of them teams.
That's what I'm thinking, Tom. If you look at West Ham, Moyes has got them playing some great football. And I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham grab that 4th.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them past it either. When people were talking about kind of the teams that are up there looking the most consistent, yes, Arsenal on a 9-game unbeaten run right now, but West Ham, I think, are the most threatening. Of all the teams that you wouldn't want to face of that group, I think West Ham are arguably the number 1. Moyes has done an amazing job there to go from where he went from the first tenure under West Ham and obviously fell away from that, then came back. The difference has been historical for them, and getting into the European competition this season is massive as well. And they don't even look like it's affecting them, which for a team that's not played in Europe for a long time to go into that competition and to maintain your Premier League form goes to show the quality that they have available to them. The thing about Arsenal and top 4 is that at the start of the season, it wasn't a consideration. It really wasn't looked at as something that we were going to be gunning for. Top 6 was the aim. If we weren't going to get into top 6, that's when you start asking questions about Mikel Arteta. But the fact that it's open is very much down to Manchester United's disappointment so far this season. But as you say, I think West Ham, if there are a big rival for Arsenal for that top 4 place, they are the ones that you look at.
Yeah.
Talking about
D, I'll ask you, D. Hang on, I'll ask you. So if it's between Arsenal and Spurs, who's grabbing that 4th?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think this Arsenal's run of games, they don't really paint the exact picture. Arsenal. No. With Arsenal, we talked about it off air as well, Tom. It depends on what you do from now on till Christmas. You got some hard games coming up. I think we're going to see how good Arsenal are against the likes of Liverpool. You got Everton coming up, who on their day, they can lose it as well. But you should be beating these sides. And if you do beat these sides, not the Liverpool, but you got some winnable games there. You got Watford coming up. If you do beat these sides, then I'll take Arsenal more seriously. But for now, I mean, drawing against Brighton, getting lucky against Palace.
Winning away at Leicester, beating Spurs.
The Leicester game was impressive. Beating Spurs, I mean, everyone pretty much does that as well nowadays, under Nuno anyways. I want to see what happens. Jokes aside, I want to see what happens from now onwards till Christmas, because you got some interesting games there. But for me, I'll probably say it's hard. Tottenham, I'm not too sure what they're going to do, but I'm just going to give it to Tottenham because,
You just said everyone beats Tottenham. You just said it, man.
But that's the old Tottenham. That's the Tottenham under Nuno. Everyone beats Tottenham under Nuno, scoring 3 goals, easy wins. Yeah. Well, to be fair, how many teams have you beat this season, Kris?
None.
Exactly.
That's 0, mate.
Exactly. Apart from Newcastle, terms and conditions apply. Apart from Newcastle, everyone beat Tottenham under Nuno. But so I'm going to give it to Tottenham for the Conte reason. I think it's going to give them a massive plus. But Kris, talking about Newcastle, whoever's appointed this season, what is your realistic expectation? Is it to stay up or mid-table? What do you want?
It's to survive. If you ask any honest Newcastle United fan, it's to survive. Of course, we've just had that takeover and we're all thrilled with it. And hopefully there will be a huge project on the back of this season. But the overall aim right now is to survive, to stay in the Premier League, because what's the point having new owners and having all this money if you're not challenging for something, if you're not looking at climbing the league? And right now we're sat 19th, and like I've just said, no wins. And the football is being pretty dreadful, to be polite about it. And right now, we need to appoint a manager. We really do, because without a manager, we had Graham Jones there at the weekend, and it's the same sort of football you're going to have as what we had under Bruce. So there needs to be big changes, big clear-outs at this football club, and that's including the playing staff as well. We are just treading water now until January. See what we can do in January.
Tom, how far do you think Newcastle can go with the right managerial appointment? Can we expect something like we saw with Manchester City back in 2008?
Yes, look, at the moment, it's absolutely impossible to predict what Newcastle can do. We've seen big takeovers at clubs before. You remember back to QPR, they had a huge takeover, didn't go anywhere, went back into the Championship. We've seen Blackburn be taken over, won the Premier League. Like, it's impossible to know, and without more evidence. It's like you talking about Arsenal's top 4 chances. Until we have more evidence, we don't know what's going to happen. But what I do agree with Kris fully is that for the short term, they just need to get a manager in. They need to get someone in they need to decide about what they're going to do this season. Are they going to get a short-term appointment in now to try and steady the ship, get them through until the end of the season, survive? Or are they going to commit to someone for the next 3+ years, which from the rumours about Emery previously and a possible 3-year contract offer, you imagine that's the route that they're going down. And so therefore, they need to make sure that they get this appointment right on multiple levels. Because if you appoint someone that's got no experience of fighting for their lives at a team, it could hugely backfire, and they could find themselves out of their depth. And a relegation scrap in the Premier League is unlike any other. So it needs to be right. And the positive for Newcastle is that they've got quality players there. They've signed one from us in Joe Willock. He showed last season what you can do. Alan Saint-Maximin, great player. Callum Wilson, great player. It's the defence that you first look at and you say, if there's an area that needs investment, it's the defence. And January is coming closer, but it's still incredibly far away from.
Still a long way away, really.
It is.
Well, one of the things, Tom, to counteract that is,
of course,
this is what I'm hearing quite a bit, is that Newcastle need this manager that's got relegation experience. Normally, the managers that have relegation experience are the managers that got the team there in the first place in that relegation fight. So for me, if Steve Bruce never happened at Newcastle United, the media and the pundits will probably be saying, now, get Steve Bruce in at Newcastle United. He'll get them out of this fight. He's the reason why we're in this fight. And it's a strange one. And you think of this firefighter manager, and the name that keeps getting brought up is Sam Allardyce every single time. And I'd be very, very shocked if he makes it a return to St. James's Park.
Well,
it would be stereotypical, wouldn't it? Go on.
If it ain't Sam Allardyce, you got Roy Hodgson free as well. So it's up to you. You got your spot for choices: Sam Allardyce, Roy Hodgson, Alan Pardew. What was he doing now?
Honestly, the football was better on a Pardew. Get him back.
What was it? A 7-year contract they gave him at one point? Was that how it was?
8 years contract.
Oh, wow.
I think it was ran out last week.
Are you still paying him royalties from that now?
He's still there. He's still at the club.
Still there.
He's still doing a job. Yeah.
Just be on the desk, serving the coffees and teas. There you go. I mean, there's been so many narratives this week with Conte and with the Newcastle stuff going on. It's amazing to think there's actually a Manchester derby this weekend, and that's really gone under the radar because of everything that's going on. And that it's not only huge for, as we know, a very much under pressure Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but for Pep Guardiola. He, after losing that game against Crystal Palace, is under pressure. That Chelsea are now clear. They can afford to lose a game and they're still top of the table. D, I'll come to you first on this. Who is this a bigger game for? And can you actually separate the two in terms of the pressure for each of them?
I want to say Ollie, but is it really? Is he going to really get sacked if they lose this game? He might lose this game, then he goes and wins 3-4 games and loses 2. He's just too inconsistent, but he always manages to get his way out of it. I think this game matters more to Ollie than he does to Pep. For Pep, his job is not on the line. I mean, City, yes, they've needed a striker, and we managed to keep a clean sheet against them because of the fact that they didn't have any real threat going forward. But personally, I think Ollie's job, it doesn't really make any sense. Is it under threat? Should it be under threat if they lose this game? What are the United board thinking? Realistically, it should be Ollie, but I'm not really too sure if this game actually makes a massive impact, even if he loses it, because he always finds a way to keep his job.
You think it's that simple, Kris? Do you think that if, say, Ollie was to lose this Manchester derby, that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
I think Ollie's pretty lucky over the last couple of games that Ronaldo saved him, to be honest with you. I think going in this game without the last couple of results, then if they don't get a decent result in a local derby, that he would have been gone. Of course he would have been. I don't think it matters now. I don't think if they lose this game by quite a considerable amount of goals, then maybe. But I think Man City are favourites all day long going into this one. So I think Ollie would have to take some beating for his job to be on the line after this game.
I do tend to agree, definitely. Go on, Kris, give us the next one.
Yeah, so Aston Villa, let's move on to these. So despite being 6th biggest spenders in the summer there, is Dean Smith now under pressure? Lost a few games now. What is it? How many games have they lost?
4
it's
on the
4 on the spin.
think, yeah.
So it's 4 on the spin now. Is he under pressure? We've seen a few managers leave already in the Premier League. Is he going to be the next one? Come to you, Tom.
I'm thinking about who else could go before him. And you think if they lose, I think it's Southampton that they play, which is, again, a massive game down the bottom. If they were to lose to Southampton, I feel like Villa would act. They feel like they are, with the owners that they've got now as well, very cutthroat. They're really ambitious. As we said, 6th highest spenders in the league. Yes, they got rid of Jack Grealish. Well, they didn't really have much kind of choice in losing Jack Grealish with the buyout clause that was inserted.
I like how he said got rid of him.
Got rid of him. See you later. Don't need you. No, we've got Leon Bailey.
Let's go for 100 mil.
I mean, obviously they were very. There's a little bit of kind of. What's the right word to put? There's a little bit of a hardship between myself and Villa because the way they went after our boy Emile Smith-Rowe in the summer, a few bids went in for him, of course, and they beat us to the signing of Emi Buendia. And it was very enjoyable when I was at the Emirates the other week to watch us utterly destroy Villa in that game, to be honest. They really offered nothing until the final few. And so when we're looking at someone like, or a club like Villa, if they do lose to Southampton, I can't see anything other than them just, cutting the cord at that point with Dean Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they didn't spend as much this summer, if they didn't bring in all those players, then I would have said, you know what, they'll stick with Dean Smith. But as Tom said, they've spent the money. And if you're a decent manager, we saw it with, Palace. We spent quite a few amount. We didn't spend on Villa level. I can't remember how much Villa spent, but they spent loads. But we still spent a bit of money. And if you can't, use these players and get the best out of them, then you're clearly not the right manager for this job right now. I know Dean Smith's done a great job with Villa to get them at this stage, but, that's how football is. It's a business at the end of the day, and they're not getting good return on their investment. So I think the next couple of games is going to be huge. A Southampton game, then they got us as well. But I think Dean Smith's job is under pressure due to the fact of, they were one of the biggest spenders in Europe this summer.
Do you want to throw us with the last question to wrap up the show?
Yeah, so we're approaching the January transfer window. We've been talking about Newcastle and how they might need new players. But realistically, which one realistic signing would you like your club to make in this window? I'll start with you, Tom.
It's a tough one for Arsenal because it all will depend on injuries and things like that. The African Cup of Nations, of course, also takes away Thomas Partey, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Nicolas Pepe, Mohamed El Neni. They're all going to be gone, which leaves Lacazette as the last striker left. It leaves a midfield of Granit Xhaka if he's fit and back again at that point. And you've got Sambi Lokonga that's, of course, still there with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. But I feel like midfield will be the area that if we go for any position, it'll be there. So I also feel like it'll be a loan, and I'm trying to be realistic about who I pick. And I feel like I actually did something about this morning, that maybe a loan for a 6-month deal at Aaron Ramsey from Juventus to come back for 6 months is something that they get entertained by. It. There's also Mark Rocker at Bayern Munich, who is not getting too many minutes there since moving from Espanyol. And the other one is Hector Herrera from Atletico Madrid as someone. So a 6-month deal for one of those three, I think, would probably serve the purpose of the January window for Arsenal.
Chris, for you, does it depend on your next manager, or is there one area that, regardless of who comes in, you just have to strengthen in January?
I think every single area on the pitch needs strengthened, apart from the goalkeeping position at Newcastle, mate. I think now, and somebody who was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it's Jesse Lingard. His name's been mentioned quite a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle try and bring him in. We need that creative sort of player in there. Yes, we've got St. Maximin, but we need somebody that can obviously push him on from midfield in a number 10 role, as you would say. So yes, you look at defensive problems, I'll say, that we have at our club, but we do have some half-decent defenders there. They're just not getting the game for some reason. So I don't think we'll have to focus straight on that area. I think we need to start scoring more goals. Jesse Lingard proved last season when he got the move to West Ham. So I think he's top of my list at the moment. What about you, D? Anyone from Palace?
Anyone from Palace? Oh, geez. You guys been mentioning Conor Gallagher. You're definitely not touching him. Who else is there? You guys
not even your player.
Whoa, he is in my head. He's not leaving. Conor Gallagher has to stay. I'm not too sure. At Palace, for example, we don't really need any players desperately. Maybe CD. If we're talking about right back, Nathan Ferguson is due to come back soon. We haven't seen him play because of his injuries at West Brom. We've got the CDM. Maybe we can strengthen there, but there isn't any one area. But I know Newcastle have been interested in the likes of Gallagher. I just had to say that. Please just leave him alone. Let him be with us. Go Sanya Mbappe's.
Well, we'll see where we're at the end of the season. See what happens in the summer, mate.
Yeah, no one is safe. No one is safe with this new Newcastle table. That's what it is going on. I mean, Nicolas Pepe's there if you want him, but it will cost you £72 million again if you want to take him from us.
We'll pass. We'll pass on that one.
When the Newcastle were telling me they'll pass on Nicolas Pepe, you know that we wasted quite a bit of money on that transfer. Clearly,
could have got Zaha.
Could have done. No, well, apparently we couldn't have done. So that's why we went for Pepe. that's
we saved him. We saved him from the Emirates.
Oh yeah, he's really living it up in South London. He is, yeah, absolutely. Let's wrap things up. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. That's episode 4 of the Fan Zone. Please do drop a like if you've not done so already, and subscribe to let us know that you are really digging the content. Drop a comment on anything that we've been talking about. D, absolute pleasure. I know I give you a hard time, but it's nice to see you again, mate. Tell people where they can find you.
So Back of the Nest on YouTube, we just do a bunch of different content, live match reactions, we do individual reaction player ratings, and also on social media as well. Back of the Nest, and for my personal account, the Palace, if you want to follow me and hear me talk about how Arsenal's a pretty much a mediocre side in this Premier League season. So yeah, you can find me like that.
Throwing out the shade. Love to see it. Fighting to the bitter end. I can respect it. Kris, absolute pleasure to join us for your first show, mate. Tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, predominantly you'll find us on Twitter, which is at Gallowgate Shots, and you'll see all of our shows on YouTube. All of our shows now go as podcasts as well. We've got around about 4 or 5 a week. We've got a new show as well, which is based in America. So it's where our American fans get interviewed, asking the strange question why they support Newcastle United. Because if you're not from Newcastle, I'm not sure why you're supporting Newcastle United. So yeah, that's where you can find our stuff.
In a few years' time, there might be a lot more, and there might be a few more reasons. So that'll be an interesting one to follow down the line. As we're seeing Manchester City's global fan base expand after their takeover so many years ago. Maybe the same thing will happen with Newcastle. It'll be one to follow quite closely. I've been Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk. You can find out my stuff on the Gooner Talks channel. You can find myself at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter. We do 8 a.m. shows every single day, even on weekends. That's commitment for you. So do go check out the content, and make sure you've dropped a like on today's show as well. We'll see you again very, very soon, and thank you for listening.